Welcome to another CoopCast. I'm Jeff Kapp, and today we have John DeCarlo Jr., who's also the NPA President for the National Pigeon Association. So thank you for coming on to the show.
Sure.
So John, let's start off. How long have you been in the pigeon hobby? That's going to be the first question that all these new people want to know.
Ever since I can remember. My grandfather had pigeons. My dad still has pigeons. So I was probably 4 or 5 when I got my first birds of my own.
Okay. And what were they? What breed?
Chinese owls were my first breed.
Okay. And you still have Chinese owls?
I do.
Okay. So how many Chinese owls do you have presently?
Probably around 200.
200.
But the breeding season just ended. I may have a few more.
Okay.
But the breeding season just ended. I haven't finished going through them. So probably 200 to 250.
Okay. And do you have other breeds?
I do. I have quite a few breeds.
Okay.
My favorite breeds are Chinese owls and African owls. But I also have Budapest shoreface, Texan pioneers, magpies, Norwich croppers, reverse wing powders, some different color pigeons. I have quite a few pigeons.
I can tell. So you keep all your birds in one loft, multiple lofts? How many lofts?
Multiple lofts.
Okay.
I've got my young birds are in an 80-foot loft, 80 by 12. But I breed only in individual pens.
Oh.
So I have about 300 individuals that I use. Now my dad's birds are also there.
Okay.
And a friend of mine from Canada, I help breed his birds.
Okay.
So I breed all individual. So I don't have any community pens, except for my foster parents, which I have about 280 pair of foster parents.
Wow.
So those are the only thing that are community.
So out of these individual breeding pens that you have set up, do you know the dimensions? What sizes?
Yeah, for like the English trumpeters, which even though I don't necessarily show English trumpeters, I'm pretty active with the breed. It's been my dad's breed since I was a kid. So the trumpeters breed, they're 32 inches by 36 inches.
Okay.
And they're about 36 inches high. Most of my breeds breed in a 4-plex hutch, which is 4 by 4,
okay,
broken up into 4 sections. So every hutch is 2 by 4.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you can save space that way, and I can breed 4 pair of pigeons.
Wow. Now, I'm assuming you must have help.
I do. I have some
okay.
cleans, but being in California, I can have automatic water all year round. So
that's
it's
convenient.
Basically just feeding. Yeah. Water seems to be what takes the most time.
Yeah, it is.
And so
having fresh, clean water.
Yeah. So we have a well that just comes.
Okay.
So I have automatic water for all my birds.
Oh, wow. Okay. So the Chinese owl. Do you have a color that's your favorite out of all the colors that there are?
I mean, khaki bar is probably my favorite color. I hardly have any.
Okay.
They're difficult to raise, but no, I breed most of the colors.
So to get a khaki bar, do you know the colors that you would have to put together to get to that? Or
yeah, you need brown, obviously.
Okay.
Khaki's a diluted brown. I'm not much for genetics.
Okay.
I don't know very much about genetics at
That's
all.
neither do I.
So I know if you have a khaki bar male, then
okay.
you can raise them, or you get browns that carry khaki. It works with blue. But I breed all colors.
What's the color that you seem to always breed a lot of?
Blue checks, blue bars.
Blue checks, blue bars. Okay. Yeah. So the other breeds that you have, what would you say would be your second favorite breed in line?
Chinese owls and African owls are I couldn't pick between the two.
Okay.
And then after that, I like them all. That's the problem.
Yeah.
But the ones I probably have maybe 30 breeds, but the ones I mentioned are my favorites. But between Chinese owls and African owls, I couldn't choose. And English trumpeters, I love them too. I couldn't choose between those 3. I'd never be without those 3.
Okay. And so each club or each breed, you belong to that club.
Sure.
Okay. And are you an officer in any of those clubs?
I am the president of the American Owl Club currently.
Okay.
Chinese owls, I am the master breeder points coordinator.
That's a tough job.
I'm on the board of directors for the Trumpeter Club, I believe.
Okay. Oh, interesting. Okay. So, someone new getting into the hobby. It could be a young kid, or even an adult, or someone that's retired looking to get into the hobby for the first time. Would you happen to have, or what would be your first piece of advice that you might want to give to someone just getting into the pigeon hobby?
Go to a show.
Okay.
Don't look on Facebook. Don't get pictures emailed to you. Go to a show and see the birds in person.
Okay.
And choose them there. I mean, there's local shows everywhere. There's big shows, around the country, but go to a show and actually look around. Because what you might find on the internet or through pictures in person may be different. But when you're at a show, you can usually see how the breed reacts, the different people within the breed.
Okay.
Just everything that would entail it.
And I guess this leads into the question of, I'm assuming you've made a lot of friends in this hobby.
I have.
So this hobby then would be something good for a young person to get involved with, no matter what age you are. You would say you're definitely going to make friends in this hobby.
Absolutely.
Okay.
If you want to make friends, you will.
You will. Okay. And the clubs that you belong to, membership-wise, are they still growing in size? And
yeah, I mean, the African Owl Club might not be growing as fast, but that's due to the difficulty of raising the breed.
Okay.
Breeding Chinese owls, breeding a good pigeon in any breed is hard.
It is.
But there are different breeds that are easier to rear, and Chinese owls are a little easier. German owls are another breed that breed well, or person will breed.
Yes.
But African owls, and the short-faced breeds, especially Budapest, ancients, all those, they're hard to raise.
Yeah.
So you really have to put some time into it. You have to have pumpers, and you've got to hand feed a lot. So I think the numbers are dwindling a little bit in those breeds.
Because of the time management piece of it?
I think so. The difficulty, and also having to have a loft of pumpers.
Okay.
For
And
foster parents.
what breeds do you use for feeders?
I use, for the bigger birds like the powders and the English trumpeters, we use like homers or
you'll use homers?
crossed up homers. But for the African owls, the Budapest, the smaller breeds, I use flying flights. Not necessarily the newer flying flights.
Okay.
I mean, they're beautiful. They've turned them into a beautiful show breed.
Yeah.
But the older, poor quality ones, the flying type, I guess, so to speak, they really do a good job. So I have about 60 pair of flying flights in there.
Okay.
And I've gotten some of the newer style from Andrew France, president of the club, and he's really helped me out with some, and they do a good job too. Flying flights for the smaller birds seem to be best. But some people use rollers.
Yeah.
Arabian trumpeters, different things like that, and I'm sure they've moved because they do well too.
So
I prefer the flying flights.
So then, someone new getting into the hobby, you mentioned African owls, short-faced birds. So for people watching, that would be a bird with a very short beak.
Yeah, well, African owls aren't a short face; they're a short beak.
Okay.
They actually have a long face.
Okay.
And that's a misnomer that people always call African owls short face, but they're not. Their face is long, their beak is short.
Okay.
Kind of like a long-faced clean-leg tumbler. They have a real short beak, but they're a long-faced bird.
True. Okay. Oh, I just learned something new too. So, with those birds, that you have to have the feeders. So, and that's because the young can't feed the parents can't feed the young properly.
Yeah, I mean they
because the beak is
it's so small. And
so you would kind of discourage someone new getting into the hobby from one of those types of breeds, maybe?
No, not if that's what they like. If they went around and liked them, and it's easy to switch eggs. It's very easy to switch eggs if you don't have them.
Okay.
So I mean, no, if that's what you like if a person likes something, they're going to do what it takes to raise it.
That's true.
I mean, and if someone gravitates more toward the breeds that raise their own young, then. But if you go to a show and you fall in love with, say, an African owl,
Yeah.
well, that's what you want, so you're going to do what you can to raise them.
And so who in African owls would you say you would guide someone towards if they wanted to get into that breed? Like who do you highly respect in African owls?
Without a doubt, Edward.
Okay.
All of my birds have come from him. He's willing to tell you everything he does. He has no secrets. I mean, I really have flown there. He's also, my closest friend, but he became that through our love for African owls and the fact that I wanted to learn every single thing that he would tell me. And I mean, he's the greatest breeder we've ever had. He spread birds out without a doubt. And you know what? There's a lot of other guys out there before him who were great breeders.
Yes.
Tom Zangel, Wayne DeVinny is a very good African owl guy. Tim Heydrich, the NPA secretary.
Okay.
But I think Ed Pointer stands alone.
Okay. And how about with the Chinese owls?
With the Chinese owls, it's different. There's so many guys who are willing to help, and there's just so many breeders out there. Pat Scroggins had a huge influence on me. Rick Tucker currently. When I was 5, a guy named Doug Hall was a top breeder on the West Coast. I mean, he just took me under his wing, and there was always an English trumpeter show in Minnesota every year, so my dad took me to it, and I met Dick Holmberg and Lou Bond. And those guys were just, when you're a kid and you can go see 300 Chinese owls, and they just, they knew I loved them, and they just basically said, take what you want. Just pick out what you want. And Pat was a lot like that. Doug, Rick Tucker and I still swap birds back and forth. I mean, I get more from him than he gets from me, but, Chinese owls, there's a lot of Jim Bennett. I could go on and on, but, I would say Doug Hall and Dick Holmberg probably had the biggest influence on me, and Pat Scroggins.
Wow.
Really to help me when I was younger.
Oh, that's great. So we're here at the 2023 National Young Bird Show, which is behind us here. And it's Friday, so people are just bringing their birds in. The show will mostly take place tomorrow, all the judging and whatnot. What other shows do you usually attend every year?
The first show I attend is the Great Western Pigeon Show in California. My dad and I put that on with help from some of the locals.
Where in California is that located?
It's in Watsonville, California.
Okay.
Right near the beach.
Okay.
Then I come here. After this is the pageant.
Okay.
I've also gone to the premiere in Salt Lake City. I've been up to a show in Western Canada, in Abbotsford. But the mainstays for me are always the Great Western, the pageant, Louisville, obviously the Grand National, and Des Moines.
And if you can only go to one show in the year for whatever the reasons are, what would be that one show you would have to pick?
It'd be the Grand National.
The Grand National.
I breed for that show.
Okay. And why? Why is the Grand National
I don't know.
such a popular show that everyone wants to go to always?
I just think throughout history, and a lot of the clubs, that's their big main meet. They have their main meetings there. Maybe they're in their Master Breeder Points program. The most points are there. It just always carried the prestige.
So
and especially in the breeds that I breed.
That's the Super Bowl of pigeon shows then?
For most breeds.
For
now,
most
of course,
breeds?
there are some breeds like English trumpeters where the pageant of pigeons is their Super Bowl.
Oh.
Domestic show flights, they have a big show in New York that the New York Combine puts on.
Okay.
But a lot of those breeds now are starting to come into the national because, that's probably the most well-attended show.
Yeah.
And if you want the exposure for your birds, you need to go to shows like that, Des Moines, this show, the pageant, and having but the local shows are probably more important to the hobby than anything. Not everyone can get the time off to travel if the national's 3,000 miles away or for whatever reason. So the local shows are really what get people started, I think. And I encourage everyone to show. I don't even want to get rid of birds anymore unless the person's willing to show birds. Without the entries, the show doesn't take place.
Yes.
So if even if I show a lot of birds that aren't in shape, or I know they're not going to win, but you know what? Like, we have to support the shows.
Yeah. No, I agree absolutely with you. I do the same thing when I can, and I have the opportunities to attend a show. So yes. Have you traveled outside of the United States to attend a pigeon show?
I have. I've been to Canada quite a bit. I've been to Mexico a lot. I've been to Australia and the Philippines.
Wow. And out of all those shows outside of the United States, what would be the one show that was like, wow, this is a great show? I mean, I know they all could be great, but what's the one that really you remember the most?
That I remember the most was probably the first time I went to Mexico.
Okay, how long ago was that?
Guadalajara. It was probably 2003. But I mean, the Australia show, the show in the Philippines was amazing. It was 1,000 birds in a mall.
In a regular mall.
In a beautiful, like, modern mall, like on the bottom floor, and I mean, people are shopping all around you, and I mean, that was an amazing show. I couldn't really pick one, but Mexico is really, the first time I went there was pretty amazing. That was also the first time I attended a show out of the country.
Oh, okay.
I mean, I consider Canada our country. I mean, we go back and forth, but, I mean, I've had some great times in Sarnia, Abbotsford, Winnipeg, Edmonton, but I guess I consider Canada, like, I guess, even Mexico to a certain extent, but Australia they had their own show hall. John Hanson just put this show on. It was amazing.
How many, do you remember how many birds?
I don't remember in Australia, but there was over 1,000 for sure. And I was in Sydney.
Oh, wow.
And then I attended a powder show, a judging powder show the next week. And it was an amazing experience. All those were.
So, speaking of judging, I assume you do judging at the pigeon shows, right? Mm-hmm. And do you judge all the breeds that you have raised, pretty much?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes, like in the Philippines or in Mexico, they bring in a judge to judge all the breeds.
So one judge would do all the breeds?
Yeah. One or two, depending on. But in the Philippines, I was the only one, and there was 1,000 birds, and we had to get them done in a day and a half.
Wow.
But their judging,
that's a lot of work.
Their judging systems are different. And for example, here we have color classes. We break things down.
Yes.
In the Philippines, if there was, say, 25 African owls, you just had to go through them and pick first and second.
Okay.
So it goes a lot quicker. It sounds like a big job, but actually, you're not placing everything like we do.
Yes.
Same with Mexico. If there's 50 Jacobins, you pick first and second.
Wow.
So it cuts the time down.
Oh, yeah, interesting. So, when you're judging, is there any pointers that you can give a new person getting into the hobby about maybe how to condition the bird properly? And I know it could be different for each breed. Some breeds may have muffs or crests or whatever, but what would be the advice you can give someone that's new into the hobby? They're going to go to the show the first time, and you're going to judge all the birds for that breed. What could you tell them? Is there a secret?
I mean, there's really no secret, and if there is, they'd want to talk to the main breeders of the breed they're in, because those guys are likely going to help them.
Okay.
Everyone wants to see more birds at the show. So, but I mean, the main thing is to start by vaccinating.
Okay.
And also treat your birds for lice, mites, and parasites. I do all of mine in August, and I do both. I vaccinate end of July, give them their second shot. 3 weeks later in August usually. Okay. And in August I treat all my birds for parasites, and there's really good products out there. I use a product called Taurus SC.
Okay.
And I put 2 drops on their neck, and it lasts the whole year. You don't see a bug. I mean, I was told. Greg Polo was the one who actually told me about it, and it's really, a lot of people are using it now, and it's really amazing.
Oh, okay. I'll have to check that product out myself.
I mean, the birds are spotless for the whole year.
Really?
I was shocked.
Could you give a shout out to who you use to buy a lot of your medications from, or any of the products that you use?
All my stuff comes from Foy's or Jed's.
Okay.
Like here, Foy's is here. I went and got some stuff. Jed's is close to home in California.
Okay.
So I get a lot of stuff from Jed's mostly, and but both those companies are great. I use Volkman Seed Factory feed.
Okay.
I find it to be the best feed that, I've traveled a lot, and a lot of people have traveled to my house and seen it, and I really prefer the Volkman Seed Factory.
Wow, great. So, as I mentioned, you're the NPA President for the National Pigeon Association. How is someone able to join the National Pigeon Association? If they just walked in the door here and said, "Oh, I want to get into the hobby. How do I join?" What's the best way for them to go about doing that?
Tim, at the major shows, Tim Heidrich, our secretary, and his wife Joni do a great job. They are at most of the shows. They're here. Just walk up, pay your dues. Our dues are very reasonable. $20 a year. You get 4 magazines with that.
Okay.
Some other perks when buying either a standard book or bands.
Okay.
If not, at a show, npausa.com. We have a great website administrator. I mean, this guy is great. Jeff does that for us, and we appreciate it.
Hey, glad to help.
So we're very fortunate to have a secretary, and Tim Heidrich, who does a great job. Jeff takes care of our website. Gary Romick does all of our periodicals, and Gary does an amazing job.
Yes.
So we are, the hobby is very fortunate to have him. I mean,
yes.
Being president is one thing, but having those guys who do such great work for us, that's really what makes the club what it is.
Yeah. Tim and Gary are fabulous of what they do. Fabulous. So, all right. Is there anything else you can mention about the hobby or suggest or anything at all?
The only thing I can stress, and I've stressed it in every time I write a president's message in the quarterly, is to support the shows. The shows will not be there if people don't enter birds. And enter your birds. Go to the shows. I mean, just going to the shows is great, but you need to enter. Buying some raffle tickets is great, but entering birds is what makes the show.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct.
So.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you coming onto the show. John DeCarlo Jr. from the NPA, the president, and thank you again. And we will see you around at another show.
For sure. Thanks,
So,
Jeff.
Thank you
for all you do.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.